Welcome to Pathways to Higher Education Undocumented and DACA Students presentation. Um, First, we would like to give you guys, state what some of our digital community guidelines. If you please use your hand raise feature if you have any questions or comment to share, or you can use the chat box if you want to share any relevant comments or thoughts. We encourage collaboration. We encourage a collaborative environment. So please make sure, if you have any thoughts or if you have any experience in topics that we talk about, please feel free to put in the chat. I would like to say also that we will have a question and answer portion at the end. So if you would like to unmute yourself, then you can. But for now, if you can, do your best to just put a lot of your comments and questions on the chat, and Mr. Andres will go ahead and help us answer those questions as they go. And now I'm going to start to introduce ourselves. So for our presenters today, I am Juan Carlos Villanueva. I am the program manager here at TGR Foundation. It is my first year here, and I've enjoyed it so far with the having our wonderful colleagues. I've been in student development for almost 7 years now, helping students in LA now here at Orange County. And so, it's been a fun experience in LA, and I'm hoping to bring back the fun in OC and then continue to help students. Again, we are recording the session. If you guys can turn off your cameras, it would be awesome. So it would be easier for us to download this recording and send it to those that couldn't attend today. And my colleague is?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jocelyn Navarro. I am currently a fourth-year undergraduate student at the University of California, Irvine. And I'm also interning this quarter with TGR Foundation, which has been really fun. And I hope you enjoy today's presentation and that you take away some great things from it. So we wanted to go over the agenda really quick. So we will begin with an icebreaker. And then after the icebreaker, we will go into different college options available for undocumented and DACA students. Next, we will talk about different ways to pay for college. With that, we will talk about the DREAM Act. We will go over that for a little bit. And then we will go over some resources for DACA and undocumented students. With that, we will mention some scholarships available to you. And lastly, we will do a Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started with our icebreaker. So if you can go to menti.com and use this code right here to answer our first question, which is, what do you think of when you hear the words higher education? So again, go to www.menti.com and use this code on the very top to be able to enter into our icebreaker. What do you think of when you hear the words higher education? So we can already see some responses: opportunity, hard work, barriers, success, privilege, and many more. So as you can see, the bigger the word, the bigger that the word gets, the more people responding that same answer. So we can see that majority sees it as an opportunity, or they think of college. Thank you so much for participating. We will go on to the next question. What is your dream job? Using the same code. What is your dream job? We can see some of the responses here. School counselor, educational leader, community leader, leader of a student-focused nonprofit, school counselor, a job where I can find help, where I can help others and be financially stable. Thank you so much for participating and engaging in our icebreaker today. I hope you learned a little bit about, see some of the similarities you may have with some of the other audience that is here today. And we will get back to our presentation. Thank you so much. Okay, so to start talking about some of the college options, the first thing that is really important is to do your research. It's really important to do your research on the type of school that you feel would best fit you. Some things to think about are, do I want to go to a big school? Do I want to go to a small school? What type of environment do I see myself in? Do I see myself in the forest like Santa Cruz, or a city school? Or do I see myself in the desert, or different types of environments for you out there? So it's really important to do your research and find a school that is right for you. With that, it is also important to do your research on the different community college options that are near you. We wanted to mention that the University of California has a common application that you can use to apply to different campuses in the UC system by using just one application. Instead of going directly to each school campus directly to the website, you can actually apply using one application. And then the Cal State universities have a similar application where you can use that application to apply to any of their 23 campuses with just one application. Similarly, private schools and liberal arts colleges use common applications such as the ones we talked about. Some of the most popular ones is common.app.org or Coalition App. There's over 974 colleges on these applications for you to apply using just one application. And then next, I wanted to take a moment to show you how to use College Board to explore different colleges and to learn about the college process. So College Board has this very, very cool tool that you can use to search for different college options. You use different filters to explore the right college for you. For example, we can start by filtering in a location. We can choose a state in the United States. For example, let's just choose Louisiana. You filter in Louisiana and it shows you all the different colleges and universities in Louisiana, right? Then you can filter in other different things, such as a specific major or a type of school that you're looking for, or even how I was mentioning that, are you looking for a big school or a small school? Depending on the size of the school, you can filter that as well. The setting, the type of activities that you're interested in getting involved in once you're on campus. So you can filter in as many things as you want, and you will find a school that's right for you in the state that you're looking for, and depending on the major that you're looking for. So this is a very great tool, a very good tool for you to explore different college options. And we put the link to the college search on College Board in the chat. So next we wanted to go over a few application tips when you are applying for colleges and universities. So some things to keep in mind and have ready in hand is having your personal information on hand, having your high school transcripts, having your ACT or SAT scores available if it's applicable, having your financial information as well as your parent information at hand, and having the California state ID information if you're applying to UC or CSU schools. So next, to talk about some of the ways to pay for college. So there are 6 types of college aid available to undocumented students. So there's a thing called in-state tuition, which is when the college campuses charge a student as in-state student instead of out-of-state student. There's also a state grant, which is free money that the state gives you. An example of this could be the California grant. There's work study, which is jobs you can get on campus for a certain amount of money that is given. There's also in-house scholarships, such as Chancellor's Excellence scholarships for good GPA. There's in-house grants, which is money that the school will give you to attend their school. Lastly, there's different scholarships that you can get, which is free money that you can apply for. And there are so many different scholarships out there for different things. So those are 6 types of aid available to you. In this presentation, we will focus on a few of these, but if you want to learn more about each one, check out the YouTube video that was sent in the chat. So next, I will be passing it on to my colleague, Juan Carlos.
So as Ms. Jocelyn speak about the different aids and in-state tuition that we can get, I think that it goes to show that many states are acting upon for undocumented and DACA students. And one of these programs is what we call here in California, a California Dream Act. So basically, if a student applies for California Dream Act, it allows students to identify as an undocumented and DACA recipients. And so with this, if their application becomes approved, this allows them to be eligible to pay in-state tuition and also receive in-state funds like the Cal grant and the in-state tuition grant that they can get when it comes if they are found if they get approved for the California Dream Act. And an additional program that we found as well that have a similar program is in New York. It's what we call a Jose Peralta New York State Dream Act. So it works just like the California Dream Act, that it does also allows undocumented and DACA students to receive state financial aid and additional aid towards students who are undocumented and DACA student. And an additional state that also offers the same is Washington State. So it's really awesome to see that many states now are following, suit with each other to figure out and understand the importance of providing support to our undocumented and DACA students. And looking at these different programs, we saw that in order to apply, of course, right, we have to understand their eligibility. And usually, I want to use the California Dream Act as an example, that if a student wants to apply for the California Dream Act, one of the main variables to apply for that is that the student has to have gone to California high school or elementary, at least totaling to 3 years. And so if the student has done that, and he or she, of course, has to be eligible DACA or undocumented students, can apply for the California Dream Act. I think it's also similar to Washington and New York. And if a student does not have a social, a student can also use he or her ITIN number. Usually this is what a person who doesn't have a social can still file for taxes, and a taxpayer person that they go to can assign them an ITIN number, and that's how they get this number. And as like I mentioned at the beginning, a student needs to be enrolled within a state high school for at least 3 years. And then for financial information, I think that there's a lot of questions about this because we know that many DACA and undocumented families, sometimes it's hard to find jobs for them. So if they don't have a W-2 and if they don't have a 1040 form, I think what goes to show is that we need to be able to show proof of income. So if they're working or they're making some type of cash, we just have to make sure that we find someone that can kind of provide legal documentation showing that they're working, that can be used for proof of income. Again, I want to use the California Dream Act because it's what we're used to, what we're more familiar with helping our students here in California, is that a proof of income can be someone who is supported by a family member writing some type of note stating that he or she is being supported by this person, and here's a signature, a letter saying that they are, or an employer who hires a undocumented or DACA student will write some type of writing supporting that proof of income. Because at the end of the day, we have to understand that a family of 4 with no income, how is the parent supporting those kids? So we have to understand that fact in order to kind of justify that proof of income part. And then of course within the California Dream Act, and I'm sure it goes to show for all the New York and the Washington programs as well, is that you have to have a school selection, and that school selection has to be within the state. Whether you're applying for a community college or whether you're applying for a UC or CSU or any of the New York university schools or Washington State schools, you have to state a school. You have to put one school, what school you're applying, what colleges you want, and you have to put that college has to be within the state in order for that person to be qualified to get that grant, whether it be in California or Washington. And the rule of thumb always is, I want to remind everyone, is that the student has to have graduated from a high school in the state that they're living in and have to have stayed there for at least 3 years. That's one of the main requirements for the Cal Grant, and I think that the New York and also the Washington State Grant has the same variable as far as eligibility. And then when it comes to if the student and has gotten approved for these programs like the Cal Grant, like the Dream Act, they receive in-state tuition. So instead of paying for extra 10 to 15,000, they'll be that tuition pay, the amount will be taken up and be given the in-state tuition. Unfortunately, federally, it's sad, right? We have not gotten to a point where we are spreading the wealth to our DACA and documented students. So there will be no aid provided by the federally, but there will be aid provided, state financial aid. So here in California, that we can get the, the Cal grant, EOP opportunity grants, anything grant provided by the state the student can receive. The UC grant. So here in California as well, that if a student, I think it's also the same with Washington and New York, that if a student goes to a state school and they are approved for the grant, for the DREAM Act grant, there will be, if the state runs out of money, the university can also provide that additional grant for them. It's either the state or the university who can provide, depending on which at that time who has the most more money to provide that student. Hopefully that made sense. If not, please make sure you put your question in the chat and we'll clarify at the end. CSU also is the same. The California Promise Grant here in California and also in Washington, we have this grant where if a student does apply for if a graduating senior who is undocumented and DACA student who has applied for the California DREAM Act, he or she will get a two-year free at the community college level. They don't have to pay for anything. The tuition will be paid for, and they may or may still get additional community college grant depending on funding for that year that they apply. We can get EOP services, services from many different state universities, but sometimes we have to also keep in mind that a lot of these services only provides for undergraduate students, and as soon as the student becomes more confident at the university, they can start to find their own ways of getting resources and things like that. And we get the California state aids like the middle class scholarship, the California DREAM Act Service Incentive Grant. That varies from year to year depending on how much grant is provided in there in the Cal grants. The state universities will also, if there's not a significant amount when it comes to their the amount they need to fully pay for their tuition, the states can is willing to provide them loans. Just depends on the budget year per year. They don't get a work study because usually those are federally they're federally funded. Even private loans are federally funded. And also they can get private scholarships, institutional aid, which you will see as we go into the presentation. We'll provide you guys additional options, variations of scholarship that our DACA and DACA students can apply for. And here they are.
Okay, so to go over some of the scholarships, first I wanted to mention that applying to as many scholarships as you can make a huge difference. And applying for scholarships is free, and the money that you get is free. So why not apply to as many as you can? It's really important that you know that you should never be charged to apply for free money. Okay, so if you run into a website that is charging you to apply for free money, it's probably a scam. Do not apply using that website. So applying to as many as you can, it can make a huge difference. So here are just a few of the scholarships available. So there's the Golden Door Scholarship, which is for students with high GPA taking challenging courses. There's a Hispanic Scholarship Fund. The National Scholarship by the Dream.us is for undocumented students who demonstrate commitment to community service and the ability to overcome barriers and challenges. There's also a website that we will go over here in a little bit, which is Immigrant Rising, but they also offer a scholarship. There's Undocumented Life, and those are just a few, but there's also different search engines which provide you with a lot of different scholarships. One is Bentacourt Macias Family Scholarship Foundation, which provides 5 different scholarships available for different intersecting identities, such as being undocumented and African American, or being undocumented and Central American, and a few more. There's also the search engine by getschool.com, which has over 50 scholarships just for DACA and undocumented students. That also goes over varying identities and varying, like, maybe there's one for if you're interested in art or if you're interested in engineering. You know, there's so many different scholarships out there. So check those out. We will be sending the links in the chat. And it's okay if you miss one. After this meeting, we will send an email with all the links and stuff. So don't worry if you don't get them all. So we wanted to go over some additional resources available. So for example, Immigrants Rising is a website online, and Immigrants Rising values education as a way of transforming lives. They not only have resources for students, but also has videos by students who have gone through the college application process as an undocumented or DACA student. And there's also videos of students who have graduated and who tell their story, as well as the scholarship, which we have already mentioned. So check out this website for some more resources on that. Next, we have bestaccreditedcolleges.org. Not only talks about legal protections undocumented and DACA students have, but also provides a guide for choosing the right college. They also talk about how to get financial aid and how to find different resources available to you. So check out this website. The link was set in the chat. And lastly, College Board, which is one of our favorites, right? College Board provides a resource list by state. Like it has, by state, it shows the different resources available to undocumented and DACA students. And it's broken into, by state, four different categories for each. So it has resources for admissions, resources for financial aid, resources on student organizations available, and also an others category, which sometimes goes over like different resources by school in that state. So check out that amazing resource available to you by College Board.
So as we heard about all the wonderful resources and information regarding what are my college options if I'm documented or DACA student, what are some of the aids I can receive, or can I receive aids being a DACA and documented students? We thank Ms. Jocelyn for the wonderful information and resources provided to us. Now, I'm going to ask everybody, I know we did a lot, as far as the introduction, but do you guys have any questions for us as far as, regarding financial aid, the DREAM Act, or how I can find this information? Please put it in the chat, or you can feel free to unmute yourself.
We had one question, JC.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it already was answered or not, but just in case, from Tosin, they said, what do I do when colleges ask for a visa and I don't have one?
So most colleges, I would like to speak upon the experiences here in California that, I say, do not be afraid to provide your status when it comes to applying to colleges, because colleges only see that information. And sometimes, it's good for them to have that information so they can go towards they can look into the college resources that they have so they can help you, right? So I say, be confident and don't worry, and it's okay to have for the colleges to know your status. Any other question, Ms. Andres?
That was the only one that I saw in the chat. But once again, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to leave it in the chat or unmute yourselves as well.
And we did receive some of your questions when you registered for the event, and we did have questions as far as, what some of the aids. I hope that we were able to answer some of those questions, those that asked about aids and in-state grants and in-state tuition. But if you need more clarification, please go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know.
Yeah, just a heads up, JC. A lot of the questions that were in our Eventbrite registration, a lot of them looks like they were answered through this presentation.
Mhm. Awesome. So I'd like to provide one quick note that, if you are, not in any of those, the Washington State or New York State or California, I encourage everyone to seek, if you guys are continue to, if you want to figure out whether your state has, the program that we just talked about here, feel free to talk to the college counselors. Usually high school college counselors, if they have, or counselors there, can identify some of the aids provided to you all in state. Or you can contact, your local community colleges, because a lot of these organizations or a lot of these colleges have to know, because they have to provide those aids to the students coming into their university. So just quick fact. Did we have a question coming, Ms. Mendes?
Yes, from Elena, she asked, how can I know if I can apply for DACA?
Okay. We will provide, I think we did provided the link. Immigrant Rising, there is, if you go into their link, they have a PDF which worth 100 pages, and there's a section on there to see and determine the different eligibility. But from experience and from working with students, a good thing to note is that a good thing to ask yourself is, have the student been in school in California? If you're, let's say, let's use California as an example, for 3 years. It can be middle school to high school. It can be 3 years in high school. It's one of the biggest eligibility to know if you're qualified to apply for the DREAM Act. But as far as the DACA information, I would guide you through the Immigrant Rising website, because they have a wonderful, like 100-page PDF of information. Or also they have lawyers, just in case you need additional assistance there. And if you can't, if ever you lost the link, don't worry, because I'll be sending in a follow-up email with all those links, and I will also include that PDF on there. Any other question, Mr. Andres?
No other questions that I can see.
And if ever, if you, I think when we sent out the link, my email was that when you guys did register for the Eventbrite link and they were sent out, I think our emails are in there. But if not, when I send a follow-up email, and if you sometimes it takes a lot, right? Asking the questions, especially for undocumented DACA students, you can go ahead and send me an email with your question. And if I can't answer them, we will find answers if you do have those questions. But that's the end of our presentation. We want to thank everybody for joining our presentation today, and I hope you continue to join our presentation, as we have a few more events coming, a few more presentations in the next before the end of February. So thank you. I appreciate everyone's support, and make sure you stay warm, and and the East Coast, and then here in California, just put a mild jacket. And thank you all.